It's after the buzzer for June 3, 2019. And as you may have surmised already,
the buzzer hasn't gone off?
yeah, we have a guest. And at this point I'm putting the word guest in quote marks, I think. He is the weather geek, the carpooler extraordinaire, the columnist for PennLive.com and the Harrisburg Patriot News, Dave Jones. Welcome to After the Buzzer.
We got a pitching change. That's gonna be all for Mike Gross. The book on Gross, 4 1/3, 5 runs, all earned, and the 2 runners on base are his responsibility.
You know why? Too many second time through the lineup and too many hard sliders. That'll do it. Dave, how you doing, man? Set the scene. Set the stage.
Out on the Struble Trail in downtown. It's
scenic.
I think it's the most beautiful day of the year. I think it is. June 3rd.
Yeah, it's been superb.
It is.
Yeah. All right, let's start. We don't know where we're going to go, but let's start. We know where we're going to start, which is Game 2 of the NBA Finals last night.
I know where we're going to go.
Go.
I know where we're going to go. That's the question.
Then, well, okay. All right, then I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this.
Go.
Well,
What's the question?
well, the question is were there many how late in the game did you think Toronto was going to win last night, if at any point?
Actually, I played this little game with myself. I had to ride until about 11, so I stay off social media. I was doing a story about this soccer club that
I saw
cheers
that. Yeah.
for Tottenham Hotspur.
There you go.
In Harrisburg, in Midtown, and they took over the Midtown Tavern. I went to George Chopp's memorial service,
Right.
Which was beautiful, and saw all sorts of people, and met my childhood hero Rex Kern.
Rex Kern was there and spoke, didn't he?
Yeah, he was tremendous.
Yeah.
He was really funny.
That's great.
Which, were you at Jerry Keller's memorial? I don't know if you were or not, but I mean,
No.
when you have a guy who's not much of a light in people's life, why not just be funny, because that's what he would do. So
Yeah,
it was
right.
It was not morose or solemn at all. It was
That's nice, yeah.
a very, very cool service, and the people were funny. But Rex Kern got up there, and he actually had a 50-year-old kind of a manifesto that George wrote about the Ohio State offense in '68, and it was diplomatic, but in turns firm. Saying, I think maybe we should change a few things.
Yeah.
And you don't know where Rex is going with this, because he's reading straight verbatim off of this thing for about 30 seconds. We maybe want to change this and change this, and then he says at the bottom of the sheet, Woody has written bullshit.
I'm sorely tempted to do Joe Paterno talking to Doug Graber. Bullshit.
And here we go.
I went to Wilt Chamberlain's memorial service here. I think it was '99 when he died. He had one in LA and he had one here in Philadelphia. So I went to the church right down in the neighborhood in West Philly. I might have told you guys this story at some point.
Oh,
but
I don't remember.
I don't remember this story.
That was kind of solemn. It was about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. Go ahead.
The big question is, how many of the 20,000 showed up?
Well, I'm telling you, there were more beautiful middle-aged women in that place than I think I've ever seen in my life. It was tremendous.
Hard to estimate. They probably didn't have name tags or anything. But
I'm not even kidding. It was really something. It was really cool.
The line was long, but it moved fast.
It was like, and they were all dressed up, and with the whole thing was like watching an episode of The Cosby Show in like 1985. It was really cool, and but it was kind of solemn, that one. And Rendell came late, and he kind of was very dutiful in his remarks, and no one was trying to be funny at all. And then, of course, who gets up with John Chaney? He tells this story about I believe it was Wilt putting his, Wilt was in charge of the alcohol for his sister's wedding. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And John was invited because they were friends, and halfway through the reception, they run out of alcohol because Wilt didn't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And Wilt asked John to go out and get a whole mess of more alcohol.
Oh, my God.
You know, there's nothing worse than a party or a wedding reception when you run out of alcohol.
Yeah,
you
that's
run
right.
out of booze. No, can't happen.
No.
So John went out and did it, and he's building the story, and he's getting
Of
a little
course he is.
louder, a little more boisterous. He said, I get out, and finally, and people are starting to snicker, and finally he says, what I'm trying to tell you is, Wilt Chamberlain owes me money.
First of
the
all,
place absolutely lost it. You know,
that's outstanding. First of all, can you picture working at a liquor store at like a certain hour on a Saturday and having John Chaney come storming?
Yeah.
I need some alcohol.
Yeah. John Chaney in a hurry. Yeah. I need booze and I need it fast.
Here's what I need.
I think it's my classic Chaney story. That one and John Severance talking about running into him in a snowstorm at State College when that pretty was the situation. Pretty much was. John saw him walking down the street in a snow-covered, like half blizzard State College, and picked him up and took him to the one package store that was open.
Oh, that is too funny.
And they sat and split a 6-pack of Schlitz or something.
If it wasn't really Schlitz,
it should have been.
Yeah.
And John autographed the brown paper bag, and John still has it. Chaney autographed it. And John Severance still has it.
That is a great story.
So what's the question?
Well, my only good Chaney story is when I called up to talk to him about Johnny Miller, the former
I did that
Celebro.
too. I did that too.
So I called him up, and this is like, you know, Chaney, he transfers out to Clemson, and Chaney's line was, if you give the kid the key to the candy store, they're going to eat all the fucking candy.
That was exactly his. He was fired up about that. I think he recognized that I gave him too much too fast.
Yes.
I think he recognized that. He gave that kid the key to the car from day one of his freshman year. Yeah.
Gordie, that was a really good Chaney.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was strong.
You brought it. Thank you so much. I actually still have the cassette with that on it, and I still have it.
He brought it.
When he goes, you know, there's going to be stories like Pet Shop Turtles. It's never going to end.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's doing. It doesn't seem like you see him around or hear about him.
I've heard not particularly well. I talked to Mike Kern about 6 weeks ago.
No, wait.
He did hear from him, and, you know, not awful, but he's 84, I think.
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean, for a while there, you were hearing about him playing a lot of golf, and, you know, he had the Porsche that his NBA guys bought him, and he was cruising around Philly and that, and now you don't hear that anymore.
He was, as he said, sitting on the stoop eating peanuts and telling lies.
Now, first of all, you need to tell us what that conversation with Mike Kern was like. Do I know what John Chaney thought this? I don't know.
What are you going to do? Chaney's Chaney. What are you going to do?
Point on the joke. If they want to do a good John Chaney, you have to, or if you want to do a good Mike Kern, you have to answer anyone else's questions with your own question.
That's correct.
And you don't say John Chaney, you say John Chaney. Could John Chaney coach Temple next year? I don't know. You tell me. Could Temple make the NCAA tournament? Who knows?
I don't know. You tell me. A Philly guy. That is a Philly guy.
He is the quintessential Philly guy, no question.
Yeah, that was a scene, man. When I went down to that thing, when he retired, they had that down in a part of Southwest Philly I've never seen before.
Yeah, I saw some pictures from that. Yeah.
Yeah, the streets were like Pompeii, man. Wide enough for half a car. Very, very unusual.
Very unusual.
Anyway, we were going to talk about the NBA. What did you guys think? I'm curious.
Well, I thought it was like a drama in 4 parts. You know, the first quarter was the first quarter.
Oh, Gordie, what are you, Larry Mark Shea.
I'm looking down right now as I say this.
He already wrote, and he's reading from his lead.
And,
This was a drama.
all right, are you guys done? Is that enough?
No, I'm not done. One more thing. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yes, thank you. There we go. Okay.
All right, go.
All right. But the first quarter was what it was.
We'll call you a poor man's Jeremy Schaff.
On that note, I will be leaving.
Who was once by Bobby Knight called a poor man's Dick Shaft, by the way.
Yeah.
And I love Jeremy Schaff. Okay, let's let Gordie talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got a little room.
But I thought, and then in the beginning of the second quarter, it seemed like the Warriors were kind of unnerved. It seemed like they had him on the run a little bit, and then
Now I remember the question. I didn't think they were going to win. I play this little game with myself where you deviate and then stay off of social media, and then you don't have to watch any ads.
right,
Yeah.
And so
or the halftime show.
I think I was in early in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, then I'll just peek at the score and try to guess what I think happened.
Right.
I was like in the first minute of the third quarter, and they had pared the lead to 1.
Right.
So it was 5. What was it? 59-54.
Yeah, at half. Yeah.
I think it was 59-58, and I said, okay, I'm telling myself, I think Toronto won this game. And then I peeked, and I went, whoa!
No, what?
Well, you got in on the beginning of, but then didn't see a 20-0 run.
Correct, 18-0.
Yeah. So but even after that, Thompson gets hurt, and I mean, a guy who ended up making a big difference, God love him, is Boogie Cousins. I mean, I didn't think he played great, but when
it happened, I thought Kerr was making, I can't even tell you how many times I thought this to myself. Well, Kerr's making a mistake here.
Right.
And then it turns out he pushed another correct button.
Yeah, he does that.
That's not a bad whole card to play when you can bring in a multi-all-star, let's start him tonight.
But he has looked lately like he can't move fast enough.
And he looked awful in the first quarter.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
He looked like a bumbling fool out there.
Yeah.
Agreed.
He was stepping. He was falling around like a drunk. He was making bad passes. He was not looking good. And you would think, well, don't start him in the second half. He started him in the second half, and he was
really
I think
good.
he was the difference.
But then they had like these other bit contributions from guys like Bogut and Quinn Cook and things like that. It was really an odd game.
Bogut signing.
Yeah, he's
I can't say Andrew Bogut without thinking of Jay Billis saying he's long and athletic.
Wingspan.
When he first was drafted.
Wingspan alert. I mean, and also the other thing was, this is the thing where I think Boogie could have done better, is Toronto was tremendous on the offensive glass, and that's the only thing they got offensively after they got behind. That's the only way they stayed in the game.
Yes.
I thought Toronto should have just let Boogie made a lot of really good feeds.
Yeah, he can pass.
From the low post and the high post.
He did.
And I thought, man, you just got to let him beat you. If he's going to beat you, go with it. Their defense was working in a way that I thought they were giving him too much credit. They were digging on him sometimes and doubling from help, and I was just like, what are you doing?
I kind of agree with that, because if he catches it on the high post, he's really dangerous. But if he catches it and starts dribbling, and tries to move, well, then somebody's stripping it. And
Mike, I'll take my chances. With him at that point.
Well, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. So that was weird, and then the Warriors are apparently they're so beat up now. I mean,
it's gonna he's got a hammy, right, Thompson?
Yes.
Yeah, and I still haven't heard the results of the MRI.
You don't have to know, man. I mean, those are trouble.
Yeah.
Those are trouble. And they're really trouble for two kinds of players: slashers and shooters.
Yep.
And he's not a slasher, but he is a shooter.
He's a shooter.
Let me tell you, anything with the legs is much more important than even the arms or the shoulders. And there's nothing more important to a shooter than his legs.
Which brings me to something I heard. I was listening to Tony Kornheiser today, and he said that by Golden State winning, this means that they don't have to bring Durant back the next game. I think they absolutely have to bring Durant back the next game.
They got to bring him back as soon as they can.
As soon as they can. Yeah, you can't mess around with that. You can't. But I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, and because I think they could really be in trouble given their physical state.
It's sort of like
in trouble. What? Given their physical condition?
Given the injuries they have between Durant and Iguodala and Curry and Looney and Thompson, that's five rotational guys.
One thing that's funny to me about this is how the narrative just completely changes from game to game in these playoff series. After game one, everybody was saying, "What's wrong with the Warriors? Is there something wrong with the Warriors? Maybe Toronto could do this." And now it's like because Toronto failed to sweep the first two. I think most people would be saying it's over now if the Warriors were relatively healthy.
Yeah. No, but they're not.
And, I know.
Let's preface all this with a conversation that Gordie and I had a week ago. I thought you would do it, but you were too nice to me, Gordie, and I'm not nice to anybody, even myself.
Even himself.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I really thought this would be a 5-game series. Maybe even a sweep. Because I didn't think Toronto
No, he thought the other way.
had the nuts to win this series, and I didn't think they had really a number 2 guy because Siakam is just too young.
Yeah.
He's so young. He's so young.
He's a good prospect.
And then he plays out of his mind the first game, and maybe this is where this is his moment.
Yeah.
Because he's been around a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I just still tend to think this comes down to the guts of the best players on the floor. If Durant is ready at all, he's a killer, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's gonna be the difference.
And he makes him better defensively too.
Even though Toronto, I underestimated the effect of Toronto's length defensively. It really bother you. And I think Nick Nurse had a very good defensive plan.
I like him. I like Nurse.
Yeah.
I think they're Texas Tech.
Yeah, they're a lot like Texas Tech.
Defensively.
They ugly it up, and you can't discount that. You cannot discount it.
Yeah, I agree. They're pretty good. Yeah.
It's a constant, and if you know what you're doing out there, if you're well coached defensively, you're going to be in every game. So is Texas Tech. And I think this is going to be a real rock fight.
They go through
Golden State doesn't like a rock fight.
No, they do not. They do not.
They go through long stretches, Toronto does. They go through long stretches where who in the world is going to score for them to beat a good team other than Kawhi? They go through long. I thought there was a stretch in the second half of Game 7 against the Sixers where it just seemed like Kawhi made a conscious decision. I don't have a teammate who can make an offensive play, so I'm just going to shoot every time I get. They went through, and yet they ended up winning.
Kyle Lowry has never been a dependable postseason player.
Right.
He just hasn't. He's got a hand problem, I guess, right?
Yeah, he does.
And then he fouled out last night, and they missed him a little bit.
Which brings me to the whole officiating thing. I thought Toronto was getting screwed in the first half. Lowry fouled out. I think he fouled twice.
Well, Tony Brothers not one of my favorite guys. We could get Joe Crawford. Are you going to get Joe Crawford on and talk about
that'd be great.
Yeah, you should get him on, and of course he will give up anything on specific guys. But Tony Brothers, to me, is the weak link in that crew, and he's kind of got a little ego in him, and he makes calls the way he thinks they should have been rather than what actually happened.
Yeah,
he does that all the time. I think several of those calls you're talking about in the first half were good, including the one that was a total. It was a mirage. I mean, I don't know what he was looking.
I kind of thought Toronto got some calls in Game 1.
Yeah,
but in the first half of Game 2, I thought Golden State got some calls.
And
Shades of Dick Bavetta with the Kings and Lakers, huh?
Oh, believe me, you were not the first person to mention Dick Bavetta in commentary today.
Yeah, and yet Toronto shot more free throws for what that's worth, and Kawhi shot 16.
Dick Bavetta really was mentioned by somebody?
Yeah, I saw that on talk radio today and on a podcast. Yeah, a couple times. Honestly.
Who you comparing comparing me to? I need to know this.
Well, it was on one of them was on Bill Simmons' podcast.
Super. Okay.
Yeah, congratulations. And the other one might have been on Stephen A's radio show.
Oh, great.
But I don't know if it was I don't know if it was Stephen A.
I thought you were gonna say coward.
Happy about that.
People who search for Dave Jones also search for. No.
But let's go down to the last play of the last meaningful play of the game, where Toronto should have fouled. They should have fouled Draymond on the last play. For some reason,
What are they doing?
I don't know. And then Curry nearly throws the ball away, but Sean Livingston makes a great fundamental play. Like we're talking like the first
Two
day.
hands.
Yeah.
Two hands.
Well, coming and to me
Also coming to the ball.
Yes,
Coming to the ball.
that's what I was talking about. It's like the first day of youth camp play by Sean Livingston in the biggest game of the year.
If that was really if that was really a 50-50 ball, the guy with the humongous arms and the humongous hands is going to get it 90% of the time because it was Kawhi. The other guy was Kawhi. But he stepped to the ball, stepped a little bit in front of him, and that made the difference.
And then Iguodala, 1 for his previous 14 on threes, does what he does.
But he's been doing that his whole career.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's another guy who's not right.
No,
he's not
Yeah,
right.
he's not right. Although he was bouncier last night than he was at the end of game 1, by far.
This is going to come down to who among the heavy hitters sounds nuts at the end of games. And I just think the Warriors have been there.
Yeah.
The Raptors got to prove it to me.
Yeah.
This is a better series than I imagined it would be, and it's going to continue to be. But still, I'm sticking with them, I think, in 6.
That was my original pick, Warriors in 6. I just want to throw in one thing. This is not going to mean anything to most people, but this showed up on Twitter last night. you have to live in Lebanon to understand this, but it was Fred VanVleet looks like he lives on Lehman Street. That's a Lebanon reference, but it's an excellent Lebanon reference.
That's good.
That was a tweet?
Yeah, somebody tweeted that last night.
That's funny.
I don't know what that means. But
Well, Lehman Street is kind of the other side of the Lehman Street is kind of the other side of the tracks in Lebanon, and Fred VanVleet looks. Is he white? Is he Hispanic? He's got a little bit of a gut? He looks like a Lebanon guy.
I'll tell you what he is. He's a baller. I love that.
Oh yeah, he can play.
How does he not get drafted?
He didn't even get drafted.
How does that happen?
Well, I wrote something about it, and you can dig it up. You should have dug it up before we got on the air, but you didn't.
Mental errors. Go ahead.
And you know why you didn't, genius? Because you're a joke.
You're a joke.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Burke had me writing. We called him NBA Draft Stockwatch.
Right.
And I liked doing it. It was fun. It was right about this time of year, 2 years ago.
Right.
And I decided to write about somebody who wasn't going to get drafted, who I knew wasn't going to get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in there if you can find it. And I wrote, I must have written 1,400 words on Fred VanVleet because I love him.
I liked him in college a lot.
I love him at Wichita State, and I just knew he was eventually going to make a roster somehow. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because he's physically gifted. He's not. He's not quick, and he's small. He's small, and he's slow.
And yet he guards Curry as well as anyone.
Shooter, not a great outside shooter. Mm-hmm. So how is he going to make an NBA roster? That's what everyone was really thinking. They didn't draft him for a reason. Because if you draft a guy like that, you get laughed at when they don't make it.
You get fired.
It looks bad. If you draft an athletic guy, you always got an excuse. Well, we thought he was an elite athlete.
Right.
He can't play basketball, but hey, he's an elite athlete. This guy is all about his game.
Yeah.
And I wrote this whole thing about.
I'm looking at it right now.
Little things he does with influences in the way he drives and gets angles on people. He's never off balance. He's never off balance.
Yeah.
Unless he's making some sort of shot at the rim where he wants to be off balance, or he wants you to think he's off balance.
Mm-hmm.
He is a terrific little player, and I always thought he had a shot at making the NBA if someone just gave him a chance. I wrote this thing last year. Somebody on a Raptors fan board found it. And now I'm like the most popular guy on this fan board.
There you go. There you go.
Look at this guy. He's a genius. Literally genius.
Genius. Let me tell you something, genius.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to spin that word genius with the voice inflection.
But yeah, I mean, he was he's tough and he's got a good head on his shoulders. I mean, that should go a long way, and it appears. And he's also he's a better shooter than he was in college.
Yeah,
he's extended his
much
range.
better
Oh,
shooter.
he was a decent shooter. He's like a 361 shooter.
That happens a lot,
From
though.
three.
Guys learn how to shoot in the NBA. That happens a lot. Yeah, but
Gordie, he was always a really good finisher at the rim, and you saw some of the stuff. You don't even know how he gets it on the glass,
Yeah.
let alone in.
Yeah.
well, he made
he
one
was always
ridiculous
that.
one in Game 1.
Yes.
He always executes the pick and roll at exactly the right time.
Mm-hmm.
He just knows what he's doing.
Yep.
And he never forces anything. He never makes stupid mistakes or lazy passes. Almost never.
Right.
The surprising thing is how much trouble he causes for Curry. He really gives him a hard time.
Because nobody can guard that guy.
He was up in him. He was just up
Yeah,
in him.
yeah.
He knows he knows Curry's little tricks. You could spend the whole game, you could rerun that game, and I did a lot of it, just watching him on defense against Curry.
Yeah, I tried to do that sometimes too.
Yeah. And it's just a blast to watch. So I'm really happy for Van Vliet. And I didn't anticipate this because he had an awful playoffs up until his baby was born. He had a rough life, man. His dad died when he was 5.
I think I remember. Did SI do a story about him? I think I remember reading that.
I don't
somewhere.
know if anyone did or not.
Yeah.
I just kind of dug all this stuff up when I wrote that piece. And he and his brother, I think, were raised by their stepfather and just kind of put through the ringer, from a basketball sense. And he got tough, and he was smart, and he was loved later in his life. And it's all coming. It makes you really. Those are great stories. It's great to see him, and he had a really rough period there. I think he was 8 for 41 from 3 until 5 games ago, and now
he was terrible in the Sixers series. Terrible in the Sixers series.
Yeah, and he just looked uncertain of himself at this level.
Yeah.
Now he looks secure.
Yeah.
Now he looks like, hey, I can do this. And once you get over that hump, that's a lot for freshmen in college and to first or second year guys in the NBA. They always wonder if they can do it until they do it, and then you see them have this look of freedom on their faces, like, yeah, I can do this. And then you kind of saw that in him when he had his bust out game in the last series.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
Now, one of the things that I've heard discussed a couple times today, and I want to throw this out there because this is one of the things that really annoys me in a lot of sports.
This is what grinds Mike's gears.
Yeah.
That's a long list.
That is a long list, but this is just one sample from the selection. This idea that we've been hearing the debate, is Iguodala a Hall of Famer? Which I think no, he is not.
No,
Yeah.
what?
And the reason why it annoys me is it's because it's this thing where we give individuals too much credit for the team situation that they end up in, that they randomly end up in. That's the problem.
You can make all sorts of criteria for a Hall of Famer, and this is one of the guys where coaches will say, I'll tell you where he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer on my team.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
But there are certain guys who know how to be a teammate and know how to play on a team.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate guy who will do everything.
Yeah, I love him. Don't get me wrong. I love Iguodala.
Yeah, I love him too.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't make him a Hall of Famer
No way.
I mean, he's the 5th best player on that team.
Yeah, at best, right?
You know, if he'd have landed after Philly and Denver, if he'd have landed in the Orlando Magic, we wouldn't. There's no way we're talking about him.
No, but he landed in the perfect situation.
I'll give him this. I think he was the most important player when he got the MVP in the finals.
Yeah.
He deserved that. Yeah, I had no problem with that. Yeah.
So, do you give guys more credit because they're better than their physical gifts?
Well, he's physically gifted.
He's pretty gifted.
He's very athletic. He's crazy athletic. Maybe not now, but he was at his.
Well, I count within physical gifts ability to shoot consistently. Everything that doesn't include the mental part of the game.
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah.
I would include. He's never been an elite shooter.
No.
And that doesn't really fit in with the way basketball's going. If he was starting out these days, how much of a chance would he get? Not being able to really pop and shoot. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and athleticism is a big. I mean, when he was coming up, it was all about athleticism in terms of the draft. Yeah.
There were guys who got chances in the NBA simply because they were athletes and nothing else. Remember Scott Burrell?
Yeah. Yeah. For that baseball pass in the Meadowlands.
Yeah, just run around and jump, and there's a little more to the game than that. But a lot of people thought he'd be a terrific player. I always lean toward the guys who are, not all that gifted, but really know how to play basketball.
Yeah, we all like those guys. But
they're more fun.
Yeah, they are.
To play with if you play.
But in fairness, there have been a lot of guys that have gotten into the NBA mostly because of their size and athleticism and turned out to be pretty skilled basketball players. They develop skill at the NBA level.
The good ones always get better. Yeah. I really believe that. They always get better.
You can also respect guys like J.J. Redick who redo their bodies
once
they get into the league.
Yeah.
They're skilled, but they're not terribly athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the stories?
Into pretty good athletes. That's terrific too. And Kawhi Leonard in a different way with his shooting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a very good example. Remember the stories that Redick was a pretty big partier in college. I used to hear. He was a pretty big drinker, and he was a little bit.
Gordie probably hung out with him since he's a dookie.
we slapped the floor together.
And it wasn't a basketball floor.
I think the first guy I ever saw do that was Kyle Macy.
Oh God!
Kyle.
God!
Made me hate him even more. He's a little pepper pack.
He's a pepper pack. He's a 6'2" sophomore.
Wasn't he the guy who he'd be at the foul line and he'd wipe his hands on his socks to dry them off?
Yeah, just stop it.
I want you to stop.
The shoe guys, go through a routine.
Yeah, that's just brutal.
That's brutal. All right, what else is happening, big guy? You've had a delightful summer so far, I trust.
I'm walking down the Struble, which is only the most beautiful place in Chester County.
Wow.
It's the Struble Hike and Bike Trail.
What a category.
I have done a couple of unusual stories here. One on the soccer thing I told you about. The Women's World Cup is one of my favorite things, so that's coming up. And Megan Rapinoe, what is she, 46 now?
Is she that old? Seriously?
Wow.
I did not realize that.
I didn't know that.
No, she's not. She's like 33, but I mean that's pretty old for
a soccer player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's this year's Abby Wambach, except I think she can still play.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been into the Women's World Cup a little more than the men's because I think women's soccer. There's certain. Which sports would you say are better when women play them than men's, in your opinion?
Well, that would be the only one.
I think that's a topic.
Yeah, that is a good topic.
The only one.
Well, okay. What else is?
Well, let's let Gordie speak.
Okay.
We should let Gordie speak more often.
Yeah, I really should. You're right. I'm
just
overbearing.
Continue while I consider the question. Go ahead.
Overbearing in that regard.
And you're missing one. Come on. It's not basketball.
Gymnastics.
Okay, I was missing 2. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Gymnastics is a good one. That's.
I think tennis. I think women's tennis because the rallies are longer.
That's good.
And the rallies are longer because they can't hit as hard.
Right.
But they can get to the ball almost as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the other direction with soccer.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get to the ball nearly as fast. But in soccer, what's important, like in basketball, is that the ball moves.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone can make the ball move equally fast, men or women.
Mm-hmm.
It's through the pass if you're doing it right. So in women's soccer, you can pass just as fast as the men, but you can't close out defensively nearly as fast as men, which means better passing, more effective passing, and it's a better game.
Yeah, it's definitely a more open game. I mean, in men's world class soccer, it's sort of like there's this equilibrium that makes scoring a goal almost a miracle. There's so many canceling out factors in men's soccer that just make it almost miraculous for there even to be a chance for a goal to be scored.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that there are a lot of the closeout factor is so good that guys who can go one-on-one and beat their men, and they're really good at that, they always do it. So that's what the game distills to sometimes. I mean, and that doesn't happen nearly as often with the women.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've been a huge Women's World Cup fan all the way back to '99. I was actually hoping Anna was pregnant with Nick, and we didn't know what the baby was. And I was.
And you were hoping it was going to be a female soccer player.
A girl, based on that, because I was so taken with that whole thing. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and what's the other one you said? Tennis. Well, I don't agree with that either. But I hear you. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Who watches men's tennis anymore?
True. Yeah. And there's no Americans that are any good anymore. So that's another strike against it in the lower 48.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that has really piqued anyone's interest lately is the sisters. I mean Serena and Venus and what else has gone on in tennis in the last 10 years? Not much.
Right.
It's
a lot of people think Federer's fun to watch. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, come on. That's like Jim Courier.
No, he's not. He's not Jim Courier. Oh, my goodness.
To me, that's one of those sports that
is Jim Courier a Hall of Famer?
Did anyone watch Anthony Joshua losing to Andy Ruiz?
No, I didn't watch it.
I didn't even know what happened.
I saw. What a highly conditioned athlete that Ruiz is.
Yeah, I mean, this is now the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
What is it? Eric Esch is now the heavyweight champion. Buster Mathis.
He's got good girth. I'll say that for him.
Size.
What an indictment of the sport. I mean, my God. If you didn't watch it, Anthony Joshua pretty much just caved. When he was knocked down a couple times and just kind of quit.
Not used to getting hit. Is that the deal?
Well, I guess maybe he just didn't know where he was. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It didn't look like, any other champion holding the belt, standing up, not weaving, not up against the ropes.
Yeah.
He's going to get a chance to defend his title, and then they just waved it off. I don't know. I grew up in the glory age of boxing like we all did, and I just think it's a dead sport. I would much rather watch UFC. I don't know about you.
Wow. I'm not in the UFC, but you're right about boxing.
They're
it's
tremendously conditioned athletes.
Oh, they are. There's no doubt about that. Those guys are bullets.
UFC guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they're not there.
Yeah.
Any MMA discipline that's respectable at all, you don't see any fat MMA guys, or they're not there.
Yeah, never let it affect you.
It always comes back there.
Little Joe. This
guy, it's a great story and everything, Andy Ruiz. But I mean, He's 6'2" and about 290. It looks like.
Yeah, he's got to be 290.
He's a
He's
two-gap
6'2".
guy.
Yeah, he's easily
You
290.
and you used to see that back in the day, but they were tomato cans that Ali or Frazier or even Riddick Bowe or someone
Yeah, right. That's true.
just beat up.
Yeah, that's right. It's not.
And
Yeah.
they could be club fighters, but that was it. Now we got one for the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, it's not that you never saw guys like that. It's that they weren't the heavyweight champion. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
And throwing big overhand rights that you can see coming, a second before. That shouldn't be the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, the backup light's coming on. Here it comes. Wow. So we did boxing. We did women's soccer.
We're plumbing all kinds
We
of
did tennis.
territory.
Any other dying sports that we've missed?
Wow.
Horse racing. How do you feel about horse racing, Dave?
Yeah, well, I watched the HBO thing that Bernard Goldberg did on Real Sports last week, and it was disgusting. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Just horrific.
Yeah.
10,000 racehorses a year are just sold for meat and in Mexico, and it's hard to justify the way that this country handles that sport, and we're the only one that allows it, and we just don't care.
No, we do not.
Other countries in Europe, it's so much more regulated.
Oh, is it? I don't even know this. Yeah, it's
yeah. Much better regulated. Here we just let this go on. I don't know why. Anyway, that was on HBO Real Sports.
Yeah.
So, if you go back X number of years, the biggest sports were horse racing, boxing, and baseball, and all of
Only
those.
one we missed was baseball. Yeah,
Yes.
It's dying too from
But
analytics.
my point being, where does the NFL go? Where is that?
I think I was talking to somebody about this today. I think it's going in the same direction. It'll just take a lot longer. It'll be 20 years. It won't die out, but it'll go the way of boxing, I think, because you're not going to have enough kids willing to play it.
Yeah.
That you're going to have the pool you have now. And the game will appear different than it did. I mean, you could say the same thing. Boxing was a brutal sport. Probably never should have existed. But, man, it was exciting. You can't
that's right.
deny that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, would something like Ron Lyle against George Foreman ever happen today? No way in hell.
No, it wouldn't.
No way in hell that would ever would have happened. But, boy, was that an unbelievable.
How about Frazier and Foreman?
Yeah.
Remember that?
How many times did he knock him down? 6? Was it 6 times?
There were five knockdowns altogether in 5 rounds.
Yeesh.
People talk about 3 rounds of thunder between Hagler and Hearns. This makes it look like, bitty ball. It was incredible. And you can find it on YouTube. It's on there. Foreman and Ron Lyle. And Cosell is doing it. I mean,
Of course he
it's
is.
tremendous.
God love it.
And each fighter knocked the other one down twice. But by the end, and there's no title at stake because Foreman had already lost to Ali about 16 months before.
Oh,
This
so
is,
that was
I think, February of 76,
well on,
something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And so they let this. I mean, it was like a barroom brawl in some Western movie. Guys getting up and
Except they're really hitting each other.
wiping
like
their
that.
mouth
Wow.
with the wrist and feeling like, why, dude? Like,
I oughta.
I oughta. It was wild. And it was in the afternoon on ABC's Wide World of Sport.
Of course it
the
was.
whole thing was just weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
So what did Jim McKay say on the intro to that one? We're about to show you.
He's on there. It could be him or it might be Warner Wolf.
Warner Wolf, good lord.
Yeah, go. Have you ever watched that?
No.
I've never watched. I don't remember that fight at all. I don't have any memory of it at all. So
you gotta go watch it. And at the end, you can't believe what was allowed to happen back then.
Yeah.
It was really, really pitiful.
Yeah.
Because Ron Lyle is absolutely defensive up against the turnbuckle, and he can't fall backward.
Yeah.
And every time he tries to fall forward, Foreman hits him again.
Ooh.
It's absolutely gruesome.
Yeah, it's funny how Foreman is perceived as this grandfatherly guy now, and he was pretty brutal. He was a brutal brawler.
Well,
in the ring.
they didn't end the fight.
Yeah, crazy.
And finally, he allows Lyle to fall forward, and he just falls into like into a puddle. It is absolutely brutal. So that kind of stuff is the way boxing was. And, you know, if you compare MMA, who was it? John McCain, I think, called it human cockfighting, 20 years ago in a congressional hearing. Well, back then it probably was, but compared to then and compared to now, the way the two sports have progressed, I think MMA is safer for people, because when guys can't fight, they don't fight. That's it.
Right.
And there are no club fighters who shouldn't be fighting anymore fighting. So there's that, and there's the fact that the gloves allow you to hit somebody repeatedly over and over and over. It's just more blunt force trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I think guys are in much worse shape for years of boxing.
Oh yeah, you wonder, like a guy like Joe Frazier, how many times do you think he had a concussion? Probably hundreds.
You don't have to be hit with a bare hand to get a concussion.
No.
But the bare hand won't knock you out completely. It's the repeated blows.
Right.
Yeah.
And you go back and watch this. It's really remarkable. And it only gets going like in pretty much the third round. And the third and fourth and fifth rounds are wild. I mean, absolutely wild. I think there's one round with 3 knockdowns, 2 by Lyle and 1 by Foreman.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That sounds like a Rocky movie.
It is, except it's real.
Yeah,
it's realistic. Right. Well, that was always the problem I had with the Rocky movies, is the punching didn't look real. If you knew anything about boxing, it just looked.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to do, but they weren't great at it. Yeah, I agree.
No, the punches that would do real damage if you got hit like that flush never did in the Rocky movies, and I just couldn't get past that, because I was all in Rocky 1.
That's a great movie. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Until the end, and I was like,
you got to cut me, Mick. I can't see.
Well, I guess that could have happened with Tyson, against Buster, but and that would have worked probably. But it's just the number of blows where you get hit flush. You don't survive those. You go down.
Yeah.
So that's what was unrealistic about it.
Yeah. I listen to some podcasts that are like cultural or political, and at the end they have a recommendation, and it's usually like a book or a movie or something like that that's sort of upscale. This is sort of like our equivalent of that. Our recommendation is watch George Foreman and Ron Lyle beat each other senseless on YouTube.
That's about our level. If you've not seen it, sometimes I'll be. When's the last time you paid for a fight, or anyone paid for a fight?
I don't think I ever have.
Yeah,
you never paid for fights?
I don't think I ever have either. No, I've gone to bars and watched fights.
We did in the 80s. In the 80s especially, man. We paid for fights all the time and got 8 or 10 people together and split it up. And all of those fights, almost all of them, are just terrific to go back and watch now. And there's fights that people don't know existed. Hearns Duran in Vegas. You ever seen that?
No.
Oh, Roberto Duran was supposed to be the guy you couldn't knock out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Hearns knocked him absolutely silly in the second round. It's another afternoon fight in Vegas, outside. There's Aaron Pryor.
I think I did see that one.
Antonio Cervantes. I mean, he gets up from a really vicious knockdown blow and knocks him out in Cincinnati. That happened when I was living in Cincinnati. I really remember it well.
Wow.
I wasn't there, but it was huge stuff. Aaron Pryor was just an absolute warrior.
Yeah.
And when he won, he was not the smartest guy in the world, but he was an absolute warrior. You had to respect guys like that.
And remember the whole, again, thinking back on how big boxing was, and remember the whole thing with Hagler and Hearns and Leonard and Duran.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a great group of fighters that went at each other. I mean, that was amazing. And
unfortunately, Leonard never fought Hagler when.
Yes, he ducked him. He ducked him. Yes.
You know, those two fights were, the first fight was way overrated because they were both past their prime.
Yep.
The best of all of them, you would have to say, was Hearns Leonard.
Yeah.
One. That was just a tremendous fight. These are the fights we paid for. I mean, they were special. All of that stuff is gone. I think probably the last thing I watched was that I actually went someplace when Penn State played Miami in '99. I went to go watch De La Hoya at some Indian-run casino like 40 miles inland in an absolute deluge on Friday night before that game.
as long as it was inland.
I went all by myself because I couldn't find anyone who wanted to go, and he was fighting Tito.
I don't know. I
What
can't
was
help
his
you.
last
This
name?
would be
Tito. I can't think of his name. But you know, it was so
I'm thinking
disappointing
of Tito
because
Fuentes.
That's all I could think of.
baseball guys. No,
Sorry.
I think it was Cornelius Boza Edwards.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
How about Saquon Barkley's uncle, Iran Barkley?
Yes.
Some of
Iran
these
Barkley.
guys were just killers, man. In the old days of even ESPN had great fights back then, and they were basically just club fighters. Tyson started on that. They had a guy named Tony Ayala.
I remember
who
that
was
name.
Oh my God, a former convict. He ended up a convict.
A former and future convict.
he was a light heavyweight.
Was it in Rahway State Prison though?
Johnny the Heat Verderosa, guys like that, and Sal Marciano.
From Rahway State Prison in Rahway, New Jersey.
Talking about
all that's gone. I mean, it's just gone.
except for Rahway State Prison, it's still there. We were talking about Hagler and Leonard being past their prime when they actually got at each other. Wasn't there an impression, like Hagler was from Massachusetts, right?
Brockton.
Massachusetts.
So
the fighting city of Brockton, Massachusetts.
I heard this story one time, so I just want to throw it out there that Bob Arum was the guy who people in Massachusetts believe was holding Hagler back from getting title fights, getting a chance. So I heard Bob Arum being interviewed, and he said he got a letter separate letters from Ted Kennedy and Tip O'Neill telling him, you give our boy a shot or we're going to take a long look at some of your business dealings. And all of a sudden, and Arum was like, I didn't know it was a problem. I'm happy to give him a shot. And so
that's really interesting.
So it's interesting that you're telling me that they actually fought after their primes.
Well, I think there's been a misunderstanding.
I hope that's true.
Good to know that Tip and Ted were doing their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
Oh my God!
Yeah, even while David's covering a lot of ground
I think this was our best show
in bucolic Chester County,
as Stuart Smalley might say.
Did you see the Stuart Smalley influence on our boy Matt Nagy, by the way, the coach of the Bears, who has that little thing on his play sheet saying "BU"?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, Stuart Smalley, Matt Nagy.
It was precious.
That is precious.
Because he's smart enough, he's good enough.
And doggone it, people like it.
I still think of the Michael Jordan one.
Yeah, oh my God, I watched that the other week. I was crying. Now, Michael, you don't have to throw the ball in the basket every time.
And Michael doesn't really have any problems or hang-ons.
I am going to...
Stuart says, I am just a fraud. And Mike ends up bucking him up and making sure that he's affirmed.
Yeah. Oh my God. And Jordan kept it together pretty well. He almost lost it a couple times.
He struggled, but he did. He did what he could. He did what he could.
I think if you guys had a video test, you should get one of Stewart's sweaters and do that with a fluffy cable lid.
With a mirror. We'd have to have a mirror.
That gross nippy one.
There you go.
Looking in the mirror. Yeah.
Well, I am.
Ryan, you're gonna go get that Lyle Foreman fight right after we get off, right?
Yeah. I can't lie.
You should watch it together. You'll be astounded.
Okay.
Absolutely
I'm
astounded.
doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it tonight. All right, the ground we have covered.
Dave, good stuff.
The names we have dropped, the references that have been made here. I can't wait to listen to this.
I think you can wait.
I can wait.
Good stuff, Dave. Good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Great stuff. You want the great stuff.
We love you.
All right, Dave.
All right.
Be good.
Be well.
Dave Jones,
The great Dave Jones.
Penn Live, Harrisburg Patriot News, and our immortal carpool up to Penn State. So that was fun, wasn't it?
That was rollicking. It was a rollicking good
a
time.
rollicking podcast.
But yes, we should explain that to listeners, both of them, that we did in fact used to drive to Penn State, and we often said that we should have had a mic in the car with
that's
us.
right.
For
the three of us. It's two of us still do. Gordie does not, but that and there have been some good podcasts there. I think I don't think we're being too egomaniacal to say that. I think there have been some good podcasts lost in the interior of my Honda.
Also some silliness, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, well, there's some silliness in this one too, certainly. But,
yes,
to say the least. All right, that's it, gang. We appreciate you listening, and we'll do it again soon. After Buzz, Twitter is @BuzzerAfter, and the Gmail, if you want to email us, is afterbuzzer@gmail. And you can find the show on YouTube by just looking after the buzzer. So that's it. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace out.